Today we're going to create overlapping pumpkins in a pumpkin patch. So first we've got to remember what overlapping is. Overlapping is when two things cross over in front of each other and one, because it's closer to the viewer, blocks the other. So we're going to make overlapping pumpkins. To do this, we are basically going to follow the step-by-step picture that was on the very front of this video. So if you want to just watch, if you want to just do it step-by-step looking at the slides, go ahead and rewind back to the front and just pause it. Otherwise, I'm going to walk you through it. First, let me tell you a little bit about the supplies we're going to use today. Today, we're going to use quite a few different supplies. We need a bunch of different stuff to kind of make this picture work the right way. If you have all of it, great. If you don't have it, we just adjust to what we do have. All right? So first thing, most importantly, you need a pencil. So we're going to need a pencil. We're going to need an eraser. So you could use a hand eraser or an eraser on the back of your pencil. You're going to need some crayons, a paintbrush, watercolor paint, or any kind of paint will really work. We're going to use watercolor. And with watercolor paint, you always need water. All right, so I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way and go ahead and get started. So the first step to doing this is we're going to start by drawing one large circle in the middle of our paper. So draw one large circle. After you have your large circle done, you are going to draw two smaller circles that are overlapping that circle. So just watch. So I draw my two smaller circles overlapping that first big circle. And remember, guys, these are pumpkins, and pumpkins are rarely ever a perfect circle. So don't be too hard on yourself about your circles being perfect. After you have your big circle with your two overlapping smaller circles, what you're going to do is take your eraser and you're going to erase any part of the big circle that is inside of the small circle. So I'll say that one more time. Any part of the big circle inside of the small circles. So just look at your small circles, and if any part of your big circle is in there, you're just going to erase that. So erase your big circle. So now what we've done by doing that is we've created the illusion that these two smaller circles are in front of that bigger one. By overlapping, we've created a bit of perspective and depth in our picture. So now it looks like the bigger one's further away. So first step done. Now we're going to do is start adding our details to our pumpkins. To add our details, we're going to begin by doing our stems. So first, what you're going to do is draw just a little kind of smile. Like a little smile shape on the top of each one of your pumpkins. So just a small smile. And then from that, you're going to draw the stem. So the way I like to draw it is I draw two lines going up and then a little oval on top. It's kind of like a little volcano. And then just erase any part of that pumpkin that's inside of there. So just go ahead and erase. Same thing on the smaller ones. Draw your two lines going up and then a little small circle. Or an oval. And then erase any part inside of it. If you want to do it a little bit differently, you could do the same thing. You could draw two lines going up, and instead of drawing a circle, if you wanted to make it look kind of like it had a vine growing off it, you would just kind of continue those lines so it looks like a little bit of a vine. And then the same thing, you just erase that little part in the center. So that is the second step. The second step is how to draw our stems. After that, we're going to draw the lines in the pumpkin. So this is what's going to really make our pumpkin look realistic and make it look three-dimensional, make it look round. All right? You're not going to draw straight lines going down, all right? Because the lines on a pumpkin are not straight. They might be straight, but they don't appear straight because the pumpkin is round. So what we're going to do is kind of imagine where the center of your pumpkin is. I'm actually going to draw one straight line going right down the middle. And then I'm going to do the same thing on these ones. These ones are on an angle a little bit, so the straight line is going to be a little bit angled as well. And then the rule to this is any line on this side of that line is going to curve just like this outside line. See how that curves this way? The lines coming off the top are going to curve just like that. And then on the other side of that straight line, these lines now are going to curve like this outside line. And you see how I'm not drawing through these smaller pumpkins? I'm kind of stopping and starting again. If you wanted to draw your line through and then go back and erase it, you could definitely do that too. All right? Do the same thing with these ones. So remember, the lines on that side are going to curve the same way as the outside line curves. The lines on the other side are going to curve the other direction. They're going to kind of look a little bit like a beach ball right now because we didn't add any color really to them yet. Same thing. Lines on this side curve this way. Lines on the other side curve the other way. Right now we have our 3 pumpkins. Last step before I let you kind of do it your own individual way is we're just going to draw a line in the back here and then another one on the other side. It should be about even, so I'm going to just kind of try to make it even. And that just is our horizon line. So that's our horizon. That's going to separate the sky from the ground for when we go color it at the end. So now what we're going to do is we are going to start tracing our pumpkin. So I'm going to use a black Sharpie marker. If you have a black marker, awesome. You could use a black Sharpie marker. If not, a black crayon will work just as good for this, okay? So go ahead and trace all of your pencil marks now. All right, guys, if you saw at the end, what I did is I went in with my eraser and I just cleaned up anywhere that I had pencil lines that I didn't trace over very well. So now the next step is going to be just with your crayons. I like to color the stems in with crayons. If you don't want to and you want to paint the whole thing, you totally can. So it's really up to you. If you want to use crayons, you can. If you don't want to use crayons, you do not have to. I'm just going to quickly add a little bit of color with my crayons, and then I'm going to paint over the rest. So I'm actually just going to add a little green in, and then I think I'm actually going to paint over it, that green with brown paint and try to make it look even more realistic. All right, now I'm ready to paint. So remember, guys, when we paint with watercolor paint, the less water you use, the darker the color will be. The more water you use, the lighter the color will be. So if you want your pumpkins to be a dark orange, you're going to use less water. So you want your brush to be a little bit drier. So you're going to go ahead in and start coloring. One thing I forgot to tell you guys too is if you wanted to add any details into your background with crayons, you could do that. So I'm actually, since this is a Halloween project, I'm going to go in and add kind of like a spooky moon in the background. So I wanted to add a moon. I'm actually using a white crayon to do it, which I know sounds kind of crazy because you're not going to be able to see it until you paint. So I'm going to go in and add my moon, my white crayon. Take some black and put a little bit of craters in it so it looks even more realistic. The moon has some craters in it. And then I'm going to actually paint my background. So I'm going to paint my grass and my sky. I'm going to try to make mine look spooky, so I'm going to mix some colors together that I think will do that. Like black and purple and blue. Now guys, listen, since we're using wet paint, if your colors start to mix together, like I was just painting those stems with brown paint and it started to blend into my sky, watch this cool trick. So here's what you do. You take your paintbrush and hold it over your water cup and then squeeze out all the water so it's dry. And then watch, it'll act like a little mop. And you can go in and just mop up any mistakes you made. So you just squeeze the water out into your water cup and you can fix those mistakes like a little mop. All right, that's just a little trick I want to show you. Go ahead, keep painting. All right, so there is my finished spooky Halloween overlapping pumpkins. All right, guys? Go ahead, take your time, have fun. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.